Do you feel that in a time when we are more connected than ever, we are drifting away from real human connection, especially to ourselves? I do. Hi, I'm Leticia Latino, and I want to invite you to join me and my very inspiring guests in exploring ways to reconnect to your essence, to your definite purpose, to what makes you tick. Are you ready? Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Back to Basics, Reconnecting to the Essence of You. My guest today is Martin Cooper. And if you have never heard the name before, you will be shocked when I reveal to you that I'm quite sure that you use this invention on a daily basis. What is it, you ask? The cell phone, which he invented back in 1973 while working for Motorola. He's a pioneer of the wireless communications industry, especially in radio spectrum management, with 11 patents to his credit. He and his wife, Arlene Harris, have co-founded over half a dozen companies. He's the current chairman at Dyna LLC. He serves on the FCC's Technological Advisory Council, is a member of the National Academy of Engineers, the Marconi Society, and is a Prince of the Asturias Laureate. He has been widely published and created the law of spectrum capacity known as Cooper's Law. And I could keep going and going, but I'm just so excited to have you on the podcast, Marty.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, Leticia.
I mean, it's just inspirational to read your accomplishments, and my audience know that because I work in the family business and my dad was in telecom before I was born in 1973, which is a coincidence with your invention. I've been in telecom my entire life. So this is really, really like one of those days that it's, I would never forget it. And I would never also forget how candidly you accepted the interview, and just to have you here is a great 50th birthday gift.
No, it's my pleasure, Leticia, but I ought to point out to you, it's nice of you to recognize some of the things that I've done, but I didn't do it all by myself. It took a lot of geniuses that knew how to build things and who could create the real substance to my ideas that made all these things happen. Thank you very much for whatever you said.
No, please. I mean, that's one of the qualities of great leaders and visionaries, humility. And that's what makes you stand outside, of so many other great minds, but, humility and that human quality in people. I mean, we met in person, like, I think a month ago when you were ready to go to Spain on a big trip, but just how just approachable. People love to be around you. I mean, not only for what you did, but just as a person, and your wife, it's also incredible. So that's, I think, what the world should aspire to.
Did you say that you were born in 1973?
I was.
So you look like a teenager. So.
Oh, well, thank you. But yeah, it's 50. So it's funny because I did not know that the invention happened on my birthdays, on my year birthday. So I was like, oh, what a coincidence this is. So, Marty, I always like to touch a little bit on the origin story of my guests, because of course, when you read, all you've achieved, and it's like people say, how did he get there? And I love to delve a little bit in childhoods, and like, I know you come from an immigrant family, so if you can share a bit about that and your parents coming to the US, and just about what were you passionate about as a young boy, and if you always had it clear that you wanted to go into engineering, or if it was kind of you got there by a coincidence.
Well, Leticia, I do the same thing now at the age of 94 that I did when I was 5 years old. I just love to see how things work. I love to take things apart and put it back together. And sometimes when I put them back together, they even work. But I just knew that I was going to be some kind of an engineer. And when I was a youngster, I thought I was going to be an airplane engineer, because airplanes were the big thing then.
Yes, I imagine.
By the time I ended up going to a technical high school, and by the time I got to college, I had big ambitions. I wanted to be a physicist. And that was the first year in our university. Everybody takes the same courses, and one of them was chemistry. And even to this day, Leticia, I do not understand chemistry at all. So, and then I looked at the curriculum, and the next year I'd have to take two more courses. So I
Oh my.
decided I wanted to be an electrical engineer, and that's how
Uh-huh.
my life changed. And I have to tell you that's how my life has been going for the last, well, since I was born, but certainly for the last 50, 60 years. Uh, I don't plan anything, and the world is taking care of me, and I just am very, very lucky, and I'm lucky to meet you today.
I love that. I don't plan anything. That's definitely to be added in your quotes. I check on some of your quotes, which I love. But for somebody with those achievements, I think in the younger generations, and I see it. I have still young kids at home, a 13 and a 9-year-old, and I see other parents, and we seem to be putting all this pressure into planning their lives. Like we almost kind of like parents talk about the kids college, when they are in third grade. And
Yeah,
I just don't feel that's the right approach because I feel we are kind of setting them up into these boxes. And it's a little bit scary to me.
you're exactly right. Boxes are bad, but on the other hand, I have to tell you that I'm a dreamer, and dreams are not bad. You have aspirations. You think about all the things you can be, and as long as your dreams are positive, that you think about all the possibilities, and you pick out something that you want to be good at, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's just the idea that you can be good at something to give you confidence. Because every time you have the confidence to do something, and you achieve that, you have the confidence to do something bigger. And that's been the story of my life, and I recommend it to everybody. Uh,
Yes, you're good living proof. That's for sure. So and I love that you kind of admitted, like I did not like chemistry. I didn't, I wasn't good at it, and sometimes just coming to terms quickly about what our superpowers are and what our superpowers are not, maybe can get us to the right destination and faster.
yeah, you got it.
Oh, awesome. So I know that there's a lot of podcasts out there about, the whole process. You also wrote a book about it, which I haven't read yet. I learned about it doing the research for this interview, but I definitely will recommend everybody to buy. If I'm not mistaken, the title is Cutting the Cord, The Cell Phone Has Transformed Humanity.
Yeah, my book is called Cutting the Cord. Of course, it refers to the telephone cord because if you think about it, when you hold up a cell phone, it's really just a telephone without a wire on it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, being a man, I never thought about it. Every woman that looks at the title of my book thinks we're going to cut the umbilical cord, and they have no interest in my book at all. Uh,
Interesting. Interesting. Well, definitely, I think the audience here should, because anything that you go in detail into such an invention, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like it makes you be in awe because that was a big vision you had back, and I understand you have started, a decade earlier, and you were very involved with the pagers and all the communication, the technology that really was the enabler at the end of the day for the cell phone. But how challenging was it, like in that creative process? I take it that you surrounded yourself with the right team, and you praise your team, and you just did it at the beginning of this interview, because it's very easy for such a big vision to be brought down by somebody like the naysayers or the non-believers. Did you face any of that? Well, I imagine you did, but how was that process for you?
well, of course, every time you want to do something, for every person that encourages you, there are 10 people that tell you it can't be done. And of course, one of the important things that happened to me is when I joined Motorola, the founder of Motorola, a fellow named Bob Galvin, who founded Motorola in the same year that I was born, which is,
Mm,
and his motto was, "Do not fear failure. Reach out." And
Mm,
that is, I have practiced that for my whole career. I had any number of failures, but the successes that you do have after you have some failures have made it all worthwhile. You can't do anything if you don't take a risk. If you
mm,
are, I'm not suggesting this, by the way, that's for everybody. Some people just can't stand the pressure of taking
mm,
risks. But that has been the substance of my life. I
mm.
reached out and as I said before, whatever successes you have, make the failures worthwhile.
That's so amazing, and I'm sure that back then, I mean, of course, you had, that relationship. But you must, I mean, people must have recognized early on, like Marty is special. He knows what he's talking because, as I understand, Motorola, invested 100 millions of, back in the 70s. That's an incredible amount of money. And of course, this was a new thing, and nobody knew if it was going to work. So, what did you feel? I mean, we know I haven't shared, and I mean, my audience, it's very mixed. It's not so much in telecom, but everybody should know this, by the way. Everybody should know your name, and everybody should know you were also the man that plays the first wireless call. And you made an interesting choice. You call your main counterpart at the competing company. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, what is it that stimulated? Why did we feel we had to make a portable telephone at that time? Well, the biggest company in the world at that time was a company called AT&T. That really is a Bell system, a different AT&T that exists today. They had a monopoly. If you wanted a phone, you had to buy it, and sometimes they wouldn't even sell it to you. They would only rent it to you. And so they ran the whole business, and they went to our Federal Communications Commission, who controlled the radio spectrum, all the radio stations that we have, and they said, we have an idea for a wireless telephone. What we're going to do is come up with a car telephone,
Mm,
and we will be able to serve, maybe 50,000 people in the country. This could be a new revolutionary thing. And
mhm.
we just thought that was ridiculous. We had been making car phones for years, and that was an old hat. And 50,000 people, that's nothing. We
Yeah.
wanted to serve lots of people. And furthermore, we thought that the telephone, as it was constituted, as it was created before, was a device to call another place. If you think about it, the telephone sits there in your house, and when somebody calls you, they're not calling you, they're calling a house. When
Mm,
they call you on a cell phone, it's your cell phone. It's an extension of you. So we took the Bell system on. They're the biggest company in the world. We're a little company in Chicago. And we fought them for, about 13 years until
mm,
the FCC finally made a decision. And their decision was, first of all, that it would not be a monopoly, it'd be competitive. That was the most important thing. And the second thing is, they made a decision that they would split off telephones from the two-way radios that the police and the other people use, because the Bell system wanted to take over everything. And of
mm,
course, we objected to that. And I forgot what the third thing is, but the bottom line is that uh, they decided that the industry would decide what the technology was. And of course, we went for handheld personal phones. And the result is, as you know today, there are more cell phones in the world than there are people, believe it or not. That's true even in the United States. There are more cell phones in the US than there are people, and more than two-thirds of the people in this country, it's almost 80% now, have cell phones. So the cell phone has really become a really basic part of human life.
mm,
Having said that, and by the way, the cell phone, as we use it in the United States, really doesn't give you a picture of what the potential is, because we use it for entertainment, we use it to keep in touch with people. Uh, there are in most of the rest of the world, especially in undeveloped countries, the cell phone is the way that people stay alive. And in Africa,
Mhm.
1 billion people got out of severe poverty, mostly because they had the cell phone there. The cell phone makes people more efficient. And when you're more efficient, there's more money for everybody. And the second thing that the cell phone does, and started to do now, and will do much more in the future, is a cell phone really is part of you, and it is with you all the time. And the cell phone of the future is going to be you're going to have your own artificial intelligence. That intelligence will know everything about you. And of course, it's very private, and you own it, so it's not going to tell all your secrets to other people. But it will know everything about your body, and if it knows that, if it senses that you're getting sick, it will go into the network and connect you with the right doctors or hospitals. And before you get a disease, the cell phone will that connection will help you zap that disease and stop it. So a few generations from now, we're not going to have disease anymore because we're going to be connected, and that's one of the powers of being connected. And the most important thing I think is going to happen in the future, I hope you'll forgive me for jumping the present is boring. Uh, the most important thing to me is the educational possibility. That our education system is ancient, is not very effective. In this country, it's hampered by the fact that the unions actually don't like the advancements in education. But here we have now the teachers teaching people who have access to all the information in the world on their fingertips. So they're going to have to change the style of teaching. And that's a really good thing because the kids can learn faster themselves than they can be taught by teachers. And the teachers can now focus on teaching them how to use these tools and maybe spend a little more time on ethics and getting along with other people. Because you know what the two biggest problems in the world today are. They're number one is poverty. There's no excuse, Leticia, for anybody being poor, for anybody not having food on their table. And the second one, I'm sure that this idea of people killing other people to get whatever it is they want to get is just wrong. There's no way you can justify that in any way at all. And I'm hoping that the fact that if our productivity goes up high enough, and if people are a little smarter than they were before, then we won't have any more poverty, and war will be a thing of the past. Oh, I just lost your audio.
I got it. Sorry about that.
You're
Um,
you're
let
back.
me let me clap so my editor knows. Mm, I love that point and that you make because I'm with you. Like I love the past and I'm fascinated by our achievements, but I definitely almost feel a responsibility in my life to contribute to the greater good. And because of that, I took like 5 years ago. I accepted an appointment to the FCC broadband deployment advisory committee and then to the equity and diversity committee as well. And it's funny because a lot of like people don't see the power that these things have. Like when you can bring people to the table and exchange ideas, magic can happen. But if we are not engaging, we are not going to prompt change. And one of the biggest thing is we have 1.2 trillion dollars. It's the historic most largest funding ever in the country. And if we don't make sure that those dollars go to exactly what you just described, like ending poverty, to make sure we teach people to use digital devices so that they can participate in the mobile economy. Because at this point, you can almost not even park your car if you don't have a phone, which I have to say it upsets me because I think it's discriminatory. I say, a techie, I want to use my phone, but what about somebody that doesn't want to use the phone or is not as easy? They should still be able to pay.
Yeah,
Any,
no, you're exactly right. We still have some problems to overcome, even in our industry, Leticia. The carriers somehow have got caught up in the idea of technology for the sake of technology. You know,
mm-hmm,
you're reading about 5G and 6G, and you say, well, what is it? How's that going to affect me? It turns out that for the next 10 or 20 years, not at all. And even then, indirectly. That's what industry will use. And that is, of course, that's important. We want to improve productivity. But the most important thing for you and for me and for all of your people who are listening to this, two things: cost and coverage.
mm-hmm.
You have to be able to afford a cell phone if you're going to have it with you all the time. And it has to be there when you need it. And would you believe that there's 20% of this country, there's no service at all? If you go to I don't want to mention the company's names. If you go to the carrier stores, they tell you we have 99% coverage. Not so. They're not being straight with
Yeah,
us. Uh,
yeah.
somehow we have to cover all of the country. You can't have some people that don't have access. But the most important thing is, you know, that cell phone service in this country is more expensive than any place else in the world. And that's not right. You
That
know,
is
every
crazy.
person has to have a cell phone, and it's my view that even kids 6 years and older ought to have cell phones. My,
Mm,
I have to tell you that my great grandchildren are not old enough yet to have cell phones, but my grandchildren have had cell phones since they were kids. Now, it introduces some problems. The teachers who are teaching by the old methods uh, feel that the cell phone is a distraction. They want the
mm.
kids to listen to them. Well, you know, one of the roles of the teacher is to overcome abstractions. When I went to school, we had abstractions. We would send pass notes on to the girls at the other side of the room, and we'd be blowing spitballs at people.
Mm.
So that teachers figured out how to handle that. In my day, they really knew how to handle it, because when I went to school, when I was a youngster in Canada, every teacher had a leather strap hung on her desk,
Oh boy.
and you could bet what that was for.
Oh boy. Yeah,
And
that
then,
doesn't sound fun.
as I got older, I guess the parents got a little more protective, so the leather strap moved to the principal's office, but it was still there. And
Yeah.
nowadays, if a teacher raised their hand to a student, the parents would be. Uh,
Yes.
but
Yes.
so things are changing, and I think they're going to keep changing for the better. And the teachers are going to learn how to teach, even with it.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's interesting you made that point because that was going to be a question. It's coming from the man that invented the portable device. It's I'm sure you get it all the time. Like, how do we get their kids not to be on it, and how do we? And it's almost. And I always say it cannot be all or nothing. We have to embed it into what we do, but don't let it control you to the point of not being able to function. I think it was in DC that they are having right now at one of the museums an exhibit about how many devices or things has the cell phone replaced. Have you heard about this?
No,
Yes, I. It's something when I was there recently, and they told me there's a full exhibit about all the things, and if I mean the newspaper, the CDs. I mean, once one starts thinking about how many things we don't use anymore, the calculator, the camera. I mean, how many things your invention eventually came up to, doing one thing. It's pretty amazing.
yeah. Well, every time you combine things, though, you lose something. And I think that the modern cell phone is not optimum. To have a device like this that, it's a flat surface, you hold it up to your head in this uncomfortable position when you talk. That's not an optimum phone. And it's not an optimum screen because it's so tiny. And all of these things can be solved with technology. And we will do that. The cell phone of the future, I think, you will have an earring that you'll put on. And if you want to talk to me, you say, get Marty on the phone, and you'll have your own supercomputer in that earring. And it will say, which Marty do you want? Do you want Marty Hellman or in San Francisco, or Marty Cooper in San Diego? You'll say, give me Cooper in San Diego. And next thing you know, you're talking to me. To me,
Huh?
that's almost an optimal phone. If you
Interesting.
take that phone from your ear and embed it under your skin so that you don't ever have to charge it. Just,
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
charging is suboptimal, isn't it? After
It
we,
is a little bit.
right,
I just transitioned to an electric car, so I love it because I don't use gasoline. But yeah, it's like now you also have to like think about, oh, where am I going today? Let me check. So, but I think the world is moving in the right direction, and I love the fact that we still have leaders like you to contribute and to see us through, because sometimes I think people are a little bit yeah, depressed, pessimistic, like when we think anything is possible. I think that it takes a special character and person to like convince others to what can be achieved.
yeah, well, I'm glad everybody in the world is not like me, Leticia. We would have
Yes,
maybe too many failures, but it just, I'm an optimist. I think that the world is better now than it's ever been before. It's far from being perfect. But if it was perfect, I wouldn't have anything to do, and you wouldn't have anything to do, right? We both of,
absolutely.
we're both of us trying to make the world better, and so that imperfection is in itself is not a bad thing. So
Absolutely. And the wealth of knowledge, I tell my dad, he's from 34, and he was born in Sicily. My parents are Sicilian. So he remembers, when the guy would come with the oil lamps to turn on all the lamps of the town. And
uh,
he remembers the first car. And here, because his town was very rural in Italy. So so I made him drive my electric car the other day. I said, Tesla would love this commercial. This guy that used to be on the car with the horses. But likewise, I mean, the advancements that you have witnessed and contributed to, it's pretty amazing in this generation.
yeah, no, it takes all kinds of people to make the world, and I encourage people to do whatever their muse leads them. Some people want to be creators, inventors. Other things want to make existing things better. And the world needs diversity, every kind of.
Mm.
And when you talk about diversity, it's not only ambition, it's got to do with color, religion, all those things. None of those things have anything to do with what your future is. You should decide what your future is.
Mhm. I love that. I always say diversity of thought is one of the most powerful diversities there are, and people can completely minimize it.
That's brilliant. I'm going to put that in my vocabulary. Diversity.
Uh,
It's lovely.
that, oh, well, it's an honor. It's an honor. So, Marty, I know your time is precious. The last question I ask every guest is usually this is a podcast that it's about how we stay connected to what makes us tick. And we all know that in the journey of life, we have ups and downs, and sometimes we don't see through. And you already say you're an optimist, sorry. Is there anything in, when you need to like connect to your essence, to your energy source, that you like to do, a hobby or a practice or anything that comes to mind?
Well, I have had every hobby that exists in the past.
Mm,
Every time I get good at something, something happens that I can't do it anymore. I used to be a fair tennis player, even
mm,
though I'm very awkward. I ended up breaking my wrist and
mm.
my head on. But at some point, I got so I couldn't play tennis anymore. I used to be an avid runner. And as a result of that, I now have artificial joints in my knees, and but there's a good side to everything. As a result of being even though I was terrible at these sports, I built up a very strong heart, and that's kept me going for 94 years. And so my biggest hobby now is really thinking about things, about different ways of understanding things, and I try very hard to encourage youngsters. I spent a lot of time. I was just in Spain, as a matter of fact. Let's see, what's today? Thursday. Last week, I was in Spain. Would you believe, Leticia, that I was having a cocktail hour and dinner with the King of Spain?
Oh my God, that's what an opportunity.
Yeah, he came over to talk to me and said, have you met my family? And I said, oh, the next thing I know, he brings over the Queen and the two princesses,
Wow.
and the Queen Mother, all of whom I met 14 years ago, all in different roles. But anyway,
Wow.
I'm not going to brag anymore about that.
No, that's amazing. No, because they probably bragging too. Well, that's the beauty of thing.
Maybe. So the idea of sharing ideas with other people and thinking about how things can be, and being able to do that without having a job to go to, which is, I've never stopped working, but I stopped working for people. Do what I want to do, maybe 30 years ago, maybe longer. And it's amazing what you can learn just by opening your mind and talking to lots of people. And we have so many things available to us now to teach us. So that's to close my comment. The most important thing in life, whatever you're doing, is to keep the channels open, keep learning. You'll never know everything, but the more you learn, the more you have to look forward to, the more tools you have to make your life better and to improve the world.
Thank you, Marty. I mean, that is just so much wisdom in these, words that you have shared with us that I really appreciative. And I mean, if the audience doesn't get inspired with that, I quit podcasting altogether. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time. To me, it's an experience of a lifetime to, be with you in this interview and be in the same industry that you are. It's truly an honor, and I look forward to keep learning from you.
No, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Leticia, you inspire me. So,
oh, wow.
Your enthusiasm and your interest in the fact that you are doing so much. I didn't know that you were a fellow advisor to the FCC, but I think that's wonderful. And anytime you want to talk, I'm available.
Absolutely. We have important thing to do, and I would definitely take you up on that. So to all of you out there, thank you for joining to this very special episode of Back to Basics, and until the next time.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Back to Basics. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't yet, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on Apple Podcast or any of your favorite streaming platforms. This is the best gift you can give us. Join me next week for another Back to Basics conversation. And if you want to find out about other exciting things I'm working on, visit leticialatino.com. Thank you, and until the next time.